Hello YouTube, Stove Mods is back with another episode. And this is going to be about the Hobo Toaster. A guy named Vinny outside watched my grater stove video where I test and introduce this stove made out of a grater. And he said to me, why don't you make those pegs where the grid is resting on? I will show you. Here, we're holding that in place. Why don't you make them any longer so that you could rest some bread on them, like have them like this, and maybe if that was our bread, rest it here. And I thought that was a really interesting idea, and I started thinking about that. And I thought if I made that pegs just longer, the problem might be, I will show you, that they don't stay in the right position, right? Because they're round. I mean, I could just make them longer and try to rest the bread on, but I tried to optimize that idea. And this is what I came up with. And you just can hook that into the holes. And then, here a wooden chunk of bread. Rest the bread on it, and you might toast it that way. And if you use that on a round stove, because why not use that on any stove? The problem is, this can, if that is tilting that direction, this can be removed and it just doesn't work that well. And I thought about it some more, and I came up with that. And you just can hook that here, and then you can rest your bread, and then you can toast it. Of course, you might also do that to just a normal Hobo stove, like that. So in case I would use that, because especially if you don't like your bread smoked, so you don't want all the holes in the wall, you want a wall that doesn't allow any smoke to get through, I would just drill some very tiny holes just to hold that hook and then have my bread here. But since that is my favorite stove and I just like it the way it is, I don't want to drill holes into it, and therefore I'm gonna do a test. I was thinking about maybe I should do that with the grater stove because Winnie outside had that idea by watching that video, but I'd prefer to do that on my IKEA stove for several reasons. First, it is just bigger and easier to fuel. The other reason is I'm not entirely sure what that is made of. I don't specialize in metal, but I think it might be galvanized. I don't know. But anyway, this is just plain stainless steel. And since we're talking about food that you want to eat afterwards, I'm just trying to have as few chemicals, or better, not any chemicals in my food, if that is possible. So I'd rather use something that is made of stainless steel. Okay, that was the introduction to the idea, and I would say let's continue and do the test. Now I have some slice of frozen bread. Here it is, and I'd say let's try to toast it. We'll check if it can be eaten. Again, I'd rather recommend a stove that doesn't have any holes in the wall, because that protects your bread from fire and from smoke as well. I mean, if you like it tasting like smoke, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, but otherwise, also it's less likely for the bread to catch fire. I'll remove it a bit. I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to have it toasted, but not set on fire. So again, if that goes wrong, the solution would be to use a stove that has closed walls. since it is not windy today, doesn't seem to be a problem with the holes in the walls. Oh, okay. You shouldn't lean it against the stove. That way it gets burned. That feels pretty much like having your fingers in a toaster. So it should work. Well, I mean, it got a little burned. If you have a knife, you can just scratch that off. It's not totally crispy yet, but a few minutes ago that was frozen and wet, and now it's dry and crisp. So I will leave it there for another minute, and then I'll taste it. I might do something in the hook that I placed there that keeps like a safety distance between the bread and the stove to not have it burn at all. I mean, you can handle it the way it is, but why not improve it if it's possible? Okay. Perfect. Perfect for breakfast. Okay. It's even quite yummy. It doesn't taste smoky at all. So, apart from that, and that can be avoided, this totally worked. So, thanks again to my viewer Winnie outside. I hope many of you have fun with their toaster now. I hope I see you next time. Bye.